Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of The Real Deal. So, this week's episode, we're going to talk about some of the creative ways sellers can list on the market to get more than just a good offer. Now, of course, that is the number one thing you want to do when you're selling your house is to maximize your profits and get as much money as possible so that way you can invest that money into another home or invest that money into multiple homes, whatever it is that you want to do with that great equity that you've built up. This is also a great video if you're a buyer and you're considering buying a house because these are creative ways that you can try to get your offer accepted. So, like I said, first and foremost, of course, when we're making, when we're listing your house on the market, we're going to want to try to get you priced at a good price point where you're going to be able to get some good traffic and multiple offers so that way these tactics will work. Obviously, if your house is overpriced, and for the condition it's in, then we might not have the benefit of getting some of these, some of these conditions met. Right. So when I'm meeting with clients now that are selling their houses, I have clients that purchased back in 2017, 2018, new clients that are thinking about putting their house on the market. And these are some of the conversations that I'm having with them. It's like, hey, you know what? Let's sit down. Let's talk about how much money you can potentially profit from selling your house, but also how we can sweeten the deal for you. So a lot of times, one of the biggest anxieties that sellers have to deal with when they're buying and selling is they have to sell a house, they have to put it on the market, they have to get an offer on their house while they're in the process of putting an offer on another house. Now, traditionally, to be as aggressive as possible when you're in the process of making an offer on your next home. Sometimes you have to stay at a rental for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or with family. I've been there and that does suck because you have to load up a U-Haul and then you have to unload it in a storage unit and then you have to do it all over again when you buy your house. So this is a tactic that's used to try to avoid that, and this is called a post-possession. So post-possession, basically what that means is you're going to purchase that, this buyer is going to purchase the house from you, and they will be the legal owner of the house while you're still living in the house, and they're going to rent it back to you for a couple weeks so that way you have enough time to transition from your current home into the new home. This is huge for people that they have a ton of stuff, or if there's elderly people living in the home and you have a bunch of just stuff in the garage and stuff in storage. You want to try to avoid having all your stuff sitting in like a storage unit in this weird transition phase. So this post-possession strategy is a great one if we're able to get multiple offers on your house, right? If we price your house right and there's multiple buyers out there that are going to make offers on your house, this is something that we can ask them. We can say, hey, you know what? I like your offer. I like the purchase price. I like the closing costs that you're asking for. But I'm also a buyer myself. I'm in the process of buying a house. So I'm going to need to stay in this house for a couple of weeks while it's closed to make sure that all my finances are in order and to make sure that the money's ready to go. So that way I'm making an offer on the other house. Now, how this is going to benefit you also when you're getting your offer accepted. So when you're in the process of selling and then buying, if you haven't received any offers on your house, then you're going to have a very hard time getting your offer accepted on the house that you want. And obviously, if you're buying a house, then those houses are going to have multiple offers too. Now, if you've had your house already under contract for a couple weeks and the inspection's done, the appraisal's done, then when you're in the process of making offers on houses, it's going to make your process so much easier because now we can say, hey, seller, we have our house under contract. It's already done with its inspection. It's already done with its appraisal. The money's pretty much guaranteed. It's closing in 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and get this contract accepted. So this is a strategy that I've been talking to my clients with, and they get excited about that idea because, like I said previously, in years past, if you were selling a house and it's a buyer's market, there's no way they're going to give you that time. They're going to want to get in their house as soon as possible. And there might still be some buyers in that position right now. That's not to say that they're not all that way, but that's the conversation that I'm having with my buyers right now when we're making offers on houses that are occupied. I'm talking to my buyers and I'm saying, hey guys, this is something that we can try to do to help the seller when they're in the process of buying their next home. We can get the house, closed, and you guys will become the legal owners of the home. But we're going to rent it back to them for a couple weeks to give them a little bit of time to move into their next home. This is something that I've been seeing a lot more in listings too. When I'm in the process of making offers on houses, some listings are already proactively asking for this up front. So that's definitely something that I would recommend considering if you've been thinking about selling and you've had that anxiety about how are we going to transition, how are we going to move from one house to the other, what's going to happen with all our stuff, are we going to have to stay at an Airbnb? I promise, as long as your house is priced in the condition it's in, and that's key, right? Because if your house is worth more because it has some nice upgrades, that doesn't mean that you have to price it low. You price it in the condition that it's in to make sure that there's enough attention for the house in your price bracket. So that's definitely a strategy that I'm using with my buyers, and I'm going to be using with my sellers. So that way, when they're transitioning, they're getting the best deal possible. Of course, if you're in that kind of middle range, give me a call, shoot me a text. Let's have that conversation. Let's see what your potential profits are going to look like. Let's see how that whole experience is going to go. So that way you can stop dwelling on it, stop getting yourself overwhelmed about it. Let's see what we can do to help you get into your next home. And of course, buyers, these are some of the strategies that I use to try to get your offers accepted. Just creative ways that I'm doing that. And of course, if you're thinking about buying a house and you're not necessarily having to sell, let me know. Reach out to me. Let's take advantage of these low interest rates. Thank you guys for joining me on this week's episode. Have a great rest of your day.